Hello and welcome to the Beyond the Hustle podcast. My name is Lydia and I'm a mindset and business coach for high-achieving entrepreneurs. In this podcast, I share insights into how you can create a life of freedom, happiness, and personal fulfillment while increasing financial success way beyond what you have achieved with hustle alone so far. Plus, every other week, I interview inspiring and out-of-the-box thinking entrepreneurs. Have fun and enjoy. Okay, welcome to today's episode. I'm super excited to actually speak with a former client of mine. His name is Patrick Laine from the US, or at least this is where he lives. And he is passionate about all kinds or everything around wellness and health. And I'm super excited to, for example, learn more about breathing today, learn more about how to basically get your lifestyle to an even better level from a wellness and health perspective. So I guess you have a lot of amazing stuff to share with us today, Patrick. So welcome to the show. And my first question, as always, is, can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, how did you end up where you are right now, business-wise and personal-wise?
I guess how far back to go here. So as a kid, I grew up, my parents were both teachers. My aunts and uncles were teachers. I grew up in a family of teachers. There was no entrepreneurs in our house, in our world. It wasn't a thing that we did. We didn't take risk. I can remember as a kid telling my mom I wanted to be a movie director. And, oh no, you don't want to do that because those people aren't really happy. They don't really live happy lives, right? And so it was just a never take risk mentality. So I went to school. And then I went to college, and as most of us do, after college, I went to graduate school. After graduate school, I went to work for 3 years, didn't really like it, went to more graduate school because I can always just keep going to school. So the end result was a PhD in atmospheric chemistry from Georgia Tech, and that led me to, I said, I want more, I want something different. So at Georgia Tech and at my previous jobs, they were always laboratory settings. And so I said, I want something different. So I looked for a postdoc position because why go out into the world? I'd go to more school, do a postdoc. So I did a postdoc at the University of Houston in doing field work, so outside of that arena. And it's really interesting looking at mercury as a contaminant in the atmosphere. That position took me to Edinburgh, Scotland, in 2013 for the World International Conference on Mercury as a Global Pollutant. ICMGP is the acronym, right? And while I was there, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, which is the accent that you hear. And while I was there, I was giving a presentation, and this old guy with a hat on walks up, and he's enthralled by my presentation, and he wants to talk to me, and he talks to me afterwards. And this guy was also from Louisiana. We met in Scotland. He tells me that they're looking for, and this was 2013, my postdoc was coming to an end. I was looking to see what I was going to do next. From New Orleans, Louisiana. He tells me that they're looking for a PhD scientist to come in and lead their lab. And they're in Houston. I lived in Houston at the time. Although we met in Scotland, it's a really crazy story. And why not? Long story short, that led to me working with him. We worked together at that company for about 10 months. Then we left, started our own company, and here we are 8 years later, still together. He's an amazing, he actually lives in Ecuador today. But amazing guy. He's been in oil and gas for over 50 years. And that was my first step into sort of a non-traditional environment. I started working from home in 2013 before it was cool to do so. And immediately knew I would never, ever work at another place ever again. And so that led me to a variety of different, I was always in oil and gas, but it led me to, I've always been passionate about health and wellness, and I have 2 kids. And so that led me to, what else can I do to get my voice out there? What else can I do to help make the world a better place for my own kids? And so that started a variety of different businesses, and I just kind of stepped into the entrepreneur type of lifestyle pretty easily.
So what was the business you went into, or the work you did with the guy you met in Edinburgh? That was oil and gas?
That was, it's oil and gas consulting work. We started a business called Process Mercury Group back in 2014. And we have clients all over the world, Australia, Thailand, the Middle East, of course, here in the US as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, and then you said you had always been interested in health, like from early on. how did this come about? Because especially like the US, what we have, the picture we have, it's very separated. So you have crazy health people, and then you obviously have the obese issue and the health decline issue. Like the States is like the example for that, basically, when you look from outside. So yeah, how did you, I don't know, are there stories how you came across health and taking care of that? Because it is not normal, I would say, that people do that.
Yeah, so ultimately, it was about my kids. And I recognized, I stepped on a scale one day, and I'm not a very big guy, right? But I stepped on a scale one day, and I weighed over 200 pounds for the first time in my life. My kids were about 5, 6 years old at the time, but that was really that really hit me hard. I was like, I am not going to be that guy. I was very athletic as a kid. I wouldn't say very athletic. I was chubby as a kid. Into my high school years, I became pretty athletic, and I was always interested in feeling good, interested in looking good, and into sports. And when I had kids, I kind of lost that, and I just life kind of caught up with me. And
why is that? Like, that's super interesting. It would be interesting to get your opinion on that. Why is that? Do you get so busy with life and taking care of the kids and working and all the daily grind?
Well, there's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure you got to work, you got to pay the bills, you got kids, you want to make them proud, you want to make your spouse proud. There's a lot of pressure to be there for other people. There's a lot of responsibility to make other people happy. There's a lot of responsibility to complete the picture for the other people in your life, whether it be your kids or your spouse, right? And now, of course, your parents as well. They have expectations too, right? So all of that pressure kind of took its toll. And the first thing that gets sacrificed is our health.
And then, okay, so you stepped on the scales and you figured out that's not what I want to leave my kids with. And what did you do? Because I know that you have a very specific, not opinion, but even like theory or what you also teach your clients around health. And I would obviously like to hear a little bit more about that in a moment. But how did you figure out your path?
Yeah, so one thing school doesn't teach you much, right? But graduate school, and specifically going to school for your doctorate in the sciences, teaches you how to learn. That's ultimately what it does. What it teaches you, I don't know, but the ability to learn, the ability to do your own research, it teaches you that. It gives you those skills. And so I knew how to do that. I knew I felt like crap. I knew that my knees hurt. I knew that I could tell the temperature outside based on how my knees felt. I knew that I was over 200 pounds for the first time in my life. So I had to do something about it. So I started doing a lot of research to look, why do I feel this way? Why do I look this way? And that's when I started doing a lot of research into looking at what I'm eating and what I'm doing. And that's how it started. And the first month, that following month, I decided to go 1 month alcohol free, right? And everybody told me I was crazy. Like, you can't do that. What are you doing? Why? What's the point? Like, you're not going to give up alcohol forever. So what's the point in going without alcohol for one month? And I did it largely to, number one, prove that I could do it, right? I mean, there was a time in my life when I can remember vividly a phone call that I had with my mom when I was 25 years old. I called her and I said, Mom, I can't imagine a life without getting absolutely drunk at least once a week, like at least once a week. And that was me. I wasn't really an alcoholic, but I certainly had a dependence on alcohol, and I certainly had a pretty strong relationship with alcohol, right? And so I learned that, okay, what would it do? What would happen? Let me try it. And so I demonstrated to myself that I could give up alcohol for 1 month. But the next month came, and it was like, okay, what do you do now? And but then the next month I gave up cheese. And those are the only two specifically that I remember. And ultimately, the reason I chose those two was because they have a significant impact on our bodies, right? Whether it's inflaming our joints, whether it's impacting our mind and the ability for our mind to connect with our bodies. And that's why I chose those two things. And then from there, it elevated to, and it wasn't like give up alcohol forever or give up cheese forever. It was just focus on the month. And from there, it went into, I think the third month might have been yogurt. I don't remember exactly what after that, but it was an iterative process. And it was a process of, how does this make me feel? And if it makes me feel better, okay, that's a signal that it's something I should consider and take into account as I'm eating in the future, as I'm moving, as I'm drinking in the future. I should think about in terms of, how does it make me feel? If it makes me feel good, then it's good. If it makes you feel good, it's good. What's good for me and what's good for you could be two completely different things. right? Your body could operate at prime time, eating cheese every day. My body maybe not, or does not, right? So it's never a thing where, I never tell people, oh, go, oh, this is bad for you, this is good for you. It's yeah, there's some groups of foods that are better for, a larger class of people, a larger percentage of people, but it's never a slam dunk. Yes, this is great, this is bad. Everybody's different, everybody's unique. So just like our minds, just like certain things excite us, what I'm passionate about is not necessarily what you're passionate about. It's the same way with food.
It's also the same way, like in the business world, where they tell you, some people, what is the right strategy, and this is the only way, or how you can do it, and then to understand finally, okay, that's always unique. Like my strategy will be unique, and what is working for you might be the wrongest thing I could do myself. So
the amazing thing is, so I figured this out when it came to food, right? I had to figure it out. I realized with food that it was all about what made me feel good. It was all about, that was the only thing that mattered. And because somebody else said something was good or bad didn't matter at all. It only mattered what I thought. It only mattered what I felt, right? So I had this figured out with food, but I had no idea that it translated to every other aspect of your life. Every other aspect, whether it comes to money, whether it comes to business, whether it comes to relationships, every other aspect is the same exact way. I only knew for years. I went, even after I thought I had it figured out, after I had the food part figured out, the exercise part came next, right? Because I used to work out like, just hours, right? Throwing heavy weights around, doing all everything, not very, very in a struggle fashion, like no pain, no gain, right? And here I am today. I work out less than I've ever worked out. I'm 7% body fat. I feel amazing. I've hit all of my physical goals, all of the way that I feel like, I'm 43. I feel like I'm 23. I love working out. I love to sweat. I love to go. I live in Miami. It's hot. I love to go outside and sweat. If you see a group of people and you see a tree and a shade and you see sun, I'm going to be in the sun. Even if it's the hottest part of the day, it could be 2:00 in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be in the sun. So it's really crazy how I didn't realize that it applied to every aspect of our lives, which surely you know.
Yeah, definitely. And gosh, so many things to talk about. So because I want to circle back to the things that people do, and where you said what makes you feel better. How do you help people to, for example, cut out certain parts, like certain foods, or where you say you're going to feel better, but there is also the brain part. So you could know, or you could even feel it makes you better, but you're so addicted to that, or you actually enjoy eating a certain thing. How do you help people then to still stop doing it? Because it's my issue is, or not my issue, but my what I want to say or focus on is this. Sometimes we think it feels good, even though it's not good. So our feeling good can be almost we can brainwash ourselves into something. How do you help people to figure that out?
So that's where the mind-body connection must be made. Without the mind-body connection, you can't do it. So every day when I walk into the kitchen, I don't know what I'm going to eat. I don't know what I'm going to eat today. Right? I walk in and I because I have the mind-body connection, I listen to, okay, what am I thinking about something crunchy? Is my body telling me it wants energy? Is my body telling me that it wants something dense, like really, really good protein, right? So the first step is making that mind-body connection. So your question is, how do you make that mind-body connection, right? And so ultimately, we have to meet you where you are. We can't just tell you to go out and start meditating for an hour a day when you don't even, the word meditation scares you, much less actually doing it, right? But ultimately, focus on your breathing. Focus on how you breathe. The way that we breathe every day has such a gigantic impact on the way that we live and our health, and not only our physical health, but our mental health. So typically, we'll start with breathing. Recognize your breathing. What percentage of the day are you breathing through your nose? What percentage of the day are you breathing through your mouth? Are you breathing through your nose at night? You don't know. Most people don't know, right? And most people do unconsciously breathe through their mouth at night. You can tape your mouth shut, and we can learn, and we can figure out how much you do breathe through your mouth when you sleep. If you tape your mouth shut and your sleep is completely the same as what it was without taping your mouth shut, you can be pretty confident you're breathing through your nose when you sleep. Otherwise, no, you could be getting up to go to the bathroom 2-3 times a night. I used to get up to go to the bathroom 3 times a night, every 2 hours, on the clock, every 2 hours. I tape my mouth shut, and now I get up once or 0 times every night, just because I tape my mouth shut. Because there's a chemical in your brain that is released when you're breathing through your mouth that allows your kidneys and your bladder, allows your bladder to fill up with urine, and then you have to go to the bathroom. When you're only breathing through your nose, that chemical is not released. So we don't wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
But how do you, like, if all the people who listen to the podcast now, like, tape their mouth shut, like, can you die with that?
No, how would you die?
No, okay. I don't know.
Humans,
that you stop breathing.
As humans, we have 2 pathways through which we can breathe, our nose and our mouth. So if I tape your mouth shut, you will still be able to breathe through your nose, right? And nose breathing drives, it's like a feedback loop. Nose breathing drives more nose breathing. Mouth breathing drives more mouth breathing. I got a guy I'm working with now who has broken his nose 5 times in his life. 5 times. And so his nose is all messed up, and it's very hard for him to breathe through his nose. And so it's a challenge. We just started working together this week, so it's brand new, but it's a challenge because getting him comfortable with breathing through the nose more is a big component of his health. But he feels like, oh, I broke my nose 5 times, so it's good luck. Good luck trying to get me to breathe more through my nose more comfortably, right? So I digressed a little bit, but that's the first step, right? So that's something really easy. We all breathe every day. And if you look at how much we breathe compared to how much we eat and drink, it's, tons of volume wise, much larger for what we breathe than what we eat and drink, right? So I think people underestimate the impact that breathing can have on your overall health and awareness levels.
Yeah, definitely. And my question about sleeping and taping your mouth shut was because there are those like sleep apnea people. And I think there is an issue because they stop breathing at all. So I thought like, okay, well, if you tape the one thing they usually breathe through, perhaps they just stop it. And then it's like, ugh.
So sleep apnea machines actually force you to breathe through your nose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you don't need tape. You don't need to tape your mouth shut if you're on a sleep apnea machine.
No, not if you're on the machine. Just if you haven't recognized that this is your issue, and and you wake up and like, ugh, I'm almost like, like out of breath, so to say.
That's because you're breathing through your mouth and your tongue is choking you, right? If you were breathing through your nose, that wouldn't happen.
Okay, so perfect. So for everyone listening who is fearful, you can just do it. All good. And it's super interesting. And how do you, what is the main thing you would say to people when it comes to breathing? Like, obviously you mentioned the awareness part. So important to become aware. How do you breathe? Through your mouth, through your nose, all of that. Do you have something you recommend them, like a certain type of breathing, or what do they do then with this like new awareness around breathing?
No, it's whatever's comfortable, right? So people talk about box breathing. You can do box breathing, right? That's where you breathe. That's where you breathe in for say 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 4 seconds, and you do it all over again, right? So they call it box breathing because there's 4 sides, and that's perfectly fine. I don't like to do that because we hold our breaths unconsciously enough during the day. So we have a lot of periods during the day where I think there's a word for it. They call it screen apnea. So like when you're working on the computer screen, you subconsciously stop breathing more often than you think. So when we're doing this intentional breathing, it's probably, I don't know. I don't know. The one thing I don't know, and there hasn't been a lot of research on, I think I even mentioned this to you in a comment on LinkedIn, right, is how much does the intentional breath holding impact your subconscious ability to hold your breath? Does it lead to more of that? I don't know. But in general, you want to breathe out more than you breathe in, right? So the bottom line is, if you're focusing on your breathing and you're counting your breaths, and you know how many seconds you're breathing in and how many seconds you're breathing out, and if you're breathing out more than you're breathing in, my personal preference is 3 seconds in, 10 to 12 seconds out, and no holds. 3 in, 12 out, 3 in, 12 out, 3 in, just repeat it for a half hour, right?
And why is that? Like, why do we have to breathe out more than we breathe in? You would expect half.
Our lungs fill up with stale air. If you think about the way you breathe during the day, most people aren't breathing really, really intentional and really being mindful about their breathing. So what ends up happening is we end up breathing in and out about the same amount. So we're not replenishing the air in our lungs. We have air. Most people breathe from like the top half or the top third of their lungs, and the rest of the air just gets completely stale and stays in the lungs.
Yucky.
So
yucky.
Yeah. It's literally stale air. So so when you push yourself to that limit of your exhales are now longer than your inhales, and whatever's comfortable, right? As you do it, you will get more and more comfortable. I didn't start out doing 3 and 12, okay? I started out doing 3 and 6, and or 4 and 8, right? And then you can go. And then another cool exercise I love to do it is to actually challenge yourself. How far can you go, right? Can you do 4 and 30? Can you do 4 and 60? Right? I mean, there are these. So I mentioned earlier the International Conference on Mercury as a Global Pollutant. So that conference was in Jeju, South Korea, which, if you've never been, amazing place. It's like it's a small island on the southern tip of South Korea, right? And when we were there were these women divers, okay? And women divers, they're called women divers. They go down and they dive. It's all free diving. There's no tanks or anything like that. They hold their breath for 10 minutes at a time and go down and pick up clams and shellfish out of the water, and then they just come walking up. You can just watch them. You can go sit on the beach, watch them go in the water for 10 to 15 minutes, and then come back out, right? And so the idea, to us, that sounds shocking, right? I'm certainly not, I can't hold my breath for 10 minutes, but it is really challenging if we can, just as an internal project, to see how far out we can stretch that breath. And over time, we'll be able to push it further and further and further out. And we can develop control mechanisms to be able to survive 10 minutes without breathing if we have to.
That's crazy, because we hear like after whatever 6-7 minutes, it's super horrible and whatever. But yeah, so true. I managed to hold my breath, like to do that for 3 minutes with the Wim Hof thing. So then it was, before that I could do 30 seconds, and then I was like, what? 3 minutes with the correct breathing, like again with the breathing in technique. And so yeah, so interesting. Okay, so for people, the first time that I now understand why it's important to breathe out longer than, because of the stale breath, to like stale air to get this out.
So the breathing is one benefit. There's another benefit that nobody ever talks about. And that is the benefit of when you are focused, really, really focused on your breathing, doing all these methods and all of these different techniques. And there's a whole bunch of Wim Hof, there's a whole bunch of different ones. The benefit that nobody ever talks about is the benefit of your mind, and the fact that your mind is now not thinking about problems or bullshit or what I'm going to do later today or what I got coming up, or there's no worries, there's no concern. You're in a free space, right? So then when you come out of that space, you're in a much more creative place. You're in a much more place that is aligned with the true version of yourself, right? So there's so much noise in this world. And it's what I was talking about with food, right? There's so much noise out there. There's so much, everybody's trying to market different foods, right? Left and right. Even healthy stuff. You don't know what's healthy and what's not, because everybody's saying their stuff is healthy and it's got all this junk in it. It's just noise. So this is, when you do this with your breathing, it actually completely eliminates the noise out of your consciousness, right?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love focusing on breathing, but like after our interview, I will definitely focus more on that, no? And is there something about the breathing that it's good to breathe deeper into your belly, or does it not matter? Because, there is like this feeling of shallow breathing, you keep it up here. And then you have these people who tell you to breathe really deeply and then, like move it through your whole body. Or do you say like, it does not matter? Just follow the 3-12 rhythm?
No, you're getting a little bit outside of my wheelhouse at this point. The only thing that I will say is that this is again going to go back to what feels good, right? What is most comfortable. If your goal is to push yourself to be able to be in control of your breath more, then the shorter inhales are going to be better, because what our instinct is to, like, after we breathe out, we kind of feel like at some point we feel like we're suffocating, right? So then we feel like we got to suck in a lot of air, right? But if it's like working out, it's like exercise. We practice it. And if we practice just breathing in that moment, just breathing in slowly, we can build a muscle up that is essentially controlling how much control we have over our breath, right? So, but I don't know whether one's good or bad, or I don't think it's necessarily good or bad. It's just, I don't know what your goal is.
Okay. Yeah, it could have been that you say like the deeper, like still short, but deeper you breathe, there is like, like with the organs around it, there is massage to it or something like that. So yeah, but all good. So the next question would be around, we spoke about, they start with breathing and then the food and this body-mind connection starts. And what do you see is the main problem with the clients who come to you? Like, what is the main challenge you discover in the people coming to you for help?
They don't feel good. They don't have a lot of energy. They're tired. they have kids, they want to play with the kids, they want to be able to be alive for their kids, but they just don't. They look at kids and say, wow, I wish I had that energy. I wish I did. I remember what it was like when I was a kid when I had that energy. So they kind of lose part of who they are. They don't recognize that. They just think it's normal. It's normal to get older and lose our energy and gain weight. And, that's about half of the people that come to us. Yeah, they want to lose weight. But there's a significant portion that it's not about the weight at all. It's just about, I just want to feel better.
And would you say with your approach and obviously all your knowledge that everyone can achieve that? Or are there certain reasons or things that it wouldn't work with someone?
That 100% anybody can achieve it, right? That's the biggest thing that I see. It's crazy, whether it's on LinkedIn or anywhere, is people who they think that they are special. They think that they have a condition that, because of my condition and my situation, that wouldn't work for me. Or even as simple as I love food too much. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, which to people in the U.S. know that people in New Orleans literally live to eat. Like, food is a hobby. Eating is a hobby. And I can tell you, Lydia, to this day, eating is a hobby for me. I love to eat. I love food. So that part of it hasn't changed. Do I eat the same shit I ate, 20 years ago? No. Okay, that part's changed. The what I like to eat has changed. But the actual act of eating and the actual appreciation for food and the love for food has not changed at all. So no matter how much you love food, because people have this belief and the noise out there tells us that we have to eat less and move more. Well, you can certainly do it that way. You can do that. But, does eat less mean restricting yourself from eating what you want to eat? If so, then that's not sustainable. Eventually you're going to, you're going to eat, you're going to want more. It's not, we can't possibly restrict ourselves from something that we want eternally and be happy.
And I just think there is a lot in the industry out there, especially in the food industry, and it's catered to, like, with all the stuff in there, it's actually like they test it so that it has the specific amounts of whatever fat and sugars in there to keep people wanting more of that. So there is a part of, or we spoke about the power of the mind, like you need to strengthen your mind and you need to work on that and not just work on food is my idea. Don't know what your opinion is about that, because food nowadays is created, especially processed foods, to keep you hooked on it. Like it's created so that you want more and keeps you addicted, basically, or makes you addicted, so to say.
100%. I first learned about that. There's I don't know if you've read the book Salt, Sugar, Fat, but there's a book out there. It's called Salt, Sugar, Fat. It speaks exactly to what you just said. The author is Michael Moss. And he actually won a Pulitzer Prize for his work in putting that book together. And it was probably about 10 years old at this point. But he calls it the bliss point, right? That's what food executives call it. It's the bliss point, which is that perfect ratio of salt, sugar, and fat to basically give you that mouthfeel so that it becomes an addiction and so that you want more. They say you can't eat just one. Well, that's where that comes from, right? And so, but when you are connected, when your mind and body are connected, how it makes you feel. The impact that it's having on you, and your body will make the choice for you. Your body and your mind have to work together. Like they're trying to work together. They're trying to communicate all the time. Even if you're obese and you're completely out of shape, unhealthy, on your deathbed, your mind and body are trying to communicate. You just can't hear them. The wires aren't connected. The wires are just sitting. It's like your computer. If you got the computer cord here and it's not plugged in, it's not going to do anything. So it's the same thing inside of our bodies. So we can kind of take advantage of that. Use your body to guide you, to show you what maybe you don't need to be as extreme as me. Where every single day you go into the kitchen and let your body tell you, but you certainly can get to that point. Anybody can get to that point. We just got to connect those wires.
Super interesting. For me, it was gladly never such a struggle, but I definitely know people in my circle of friends, who have struggled. Like whatever they ate, they just put on weight, and even if they stopped eating or whatever, it just kept going. And for other people, like I recently did a metabolism test, and like my metabolism rate is super high. So actually, whatever I eat, it's like it never sticks, or like it's not just doesn't. Like I don't have this issue of, you can put whatever in me. Obviously, I take a lot, like good care of what I eat and follow this, what I desire to eat. But I definitely see that struggle in people. It's huge.
Yeah, it's also, we haven't talked about habits. You haven't asked about habits, right? But and it's kind of like, everything's connected. It's all connected, right? We talked earlier about like the health and fitness side and the business side and the money side and how all of those are connected. But even if you're just specifically talking about health, the idea that health is all about what we eat and drink is flawed. It's because it's so much about it's about every single thing that we put into our bodies, and people don't think about, well, what am I putting into my body? Right now, I'm putting Lydia's voice into my body and Lydia's face, because I'm seeing you and I'm hearing you. So those words are going in, right? They're going in. Now, maybe they don't go in long, maybe they go out for some people, who knows? But they're going in, and so the same way we have to watch what we eat and watch what we drink, because it's going in, it's having an impact on us. We have to watch what goes in here. We have to watch what we absorb through here, and of course, we have to watch. Yeah, point of eyes. So it's so all connected.
And again, you pointed out, or you mentioned habits. All of that creates certain habits, and we often are not even aware. Like when you now said, what do we consume when it comes to what are we reading, what are we listening to? For so many people, it's just unconscious. I open the newspaper with lots of horrible news, and that's my morning. Like, what the heck? What am I expecting? Like, I'm focusing on feeling shit from the beginning on, basically. So
that's what. So I got into this. I got into like, okay, I'm so meticulous about the way that I eat and paying attention to the way that I eat makes me feel, right? And then so I would go every morning, I'd do my breathing, I would drink my water, and I would set the day off with me, right? I'm setting the tone, right? The world is my world, right? I don't talk to one human being within an hour of waking up. That's intentional, right? And then what I noticed was I would then get on my phone, and then I would then start looking at the different news sites, whether it's whatever, MSNBC and whatever the news sites are, and I start reading the news. And like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm so meticulous about what's going in food-wise, but here I am mindlessly consuming the news, right? And so it definitely, that was an adjustment. I had to realize, wait a minute, what am I doing? This is just as important. It doesn't feel like it, but at first, but it's just as important as paying attention to what you eat. So having rules around your phone and having rules around, okay, within the first hour, I'm not going to touch my phone, and I'm just picking an hour. Sometimes it's 2 hours, whatever it is, right? Certainly, and in social media, right? We have to make sure that we are consuming the right content, the content that is serving us, right? And I mean, so I deleted the Facebook app from my phone in April of 2021, and I never really liked it. I never wanted to be on there in the first place, but I did for business, because I always thought, oh, you got to be on there for business. That was why I ultimately got on there. And when I deleted it, I felt better immediately, and my life has improved from that point forward. Gone from here to here. It's the benefits that I've seen just from deleting Facebook have been, off the charts.
Yeah, social media. It's also purposely built on keeping us there. Is this the same as what we talked about food? It's the same stuff. So people, watch out what you put into your brain as well, not only into your body. And I would love to hear a little bit from you, because you said you were really focused on health, on what you eat, on all of like exercise and that. And you hadn't made the conclusion yet, the other aspects of life follow the same rules. And I know you worked with one of my clients and you changed everything around, but not everything around business, but you shifted away from like hustle mentality. So how was that process for you? Why do you think this was like the last area where this kicked in, or where you made adjustments?
Yeah. So Keith, when I started working with Keith back in like May of 2021, some point in May, and I really started picking up on it really quickly, on everything he was saying, everything he was trying to teach me really quickly. And he was kind of, I don't know what he would tell you, what he would say today, but I think I got the impression that he was surprised at the time at how quickly I was picking everything up. Right. And how quickly I was adopting everything and intaking everything. And it's not because I'm special. It was just because for me, it clicked, because it was the same as I've been teaching it already. I already, the rules are the same. The game is the same. I just thought, it doesn't apply. It can't work like this to other aspects of my life. I know food. I know exercise. I know that, less is more when it comes to exercise. We need rest days. We need all of that stuff. Yet, business-wise, there were no rest days. It was go, 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 multitask, do 10 things at one time, and it just makes no sense now looking back on it. How stupid was I to not see it, right? But that was ultimately why I was able to pick up on it so quickly, because it clicked for me. I was like, the synergies are insane. And then it's funny because Keith hired me to help him for a month with intermittent fasting and with his diet, right, a little bit. And then I was like, do you get it now? Do you see now why I was able? And he's like, yeah, I get it. I completely understand now how you picked up on it so quickly. So it's ultimately, to answer your question, it comes down to your weight and your health and the state of your health. If you don't feel good or if you're overweight, right? Or if you have high blood pressure or whatever it is, those are symptoms, right? Those are symptoms. The money in your life is a symptom, right? The lifestyle that you live, the challenges that you have, those are symptoms, right? Those aren't the actual problem. And so on the health side, if we get to the core of the problem, which is that mind-body connection at the core of it, then everything else falls into place. The weight I can't tell you what you're supposed to weigh. Your body will tell you that. You'll just wait. I had clients, so they're so funny because they give me a goal and they say, all right, I want to lose 50 pounds, I want to lose 80 pounds, 100 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever the number is. And then they get to that and then they blow past it. And then they're like, wait a minute, I'm not even trying to lose weight. What's going on? Well, because you're connected now. Your body's going to tell you. You no longer call the shots. And so, you call the shots, but your body's guiding you to where it needs to be, that balance point. And so when it comes to business and money, it's the same way. And it's not the way that we're taught. Just like with food, we're not taught this way with food. The money is a symptom of how everything else in your life is aligned and how everything else in your life is clicking and how connected you are in other aspects of your life. Of course, I would argue that health is the foundation of everything, right? Because, there's a saying out there, right? A healthy person wants a million things. An unhealthy person wants one thing. Yeah. So, and that's so true. It's so true. How can you focus on your business and how can you focus on feeling good and how can you focus on optimizing your life if you're worried about your health constantly? You're worried that you're going to die early and leave your kids behind or whatever it may be. You're getting sick and that's taking you off your game. People think it's normal to get sick. Lydia, it's not normal. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not special, but I used to get sick every year. Even when I was quote unquote unhealthy, I never really got sick a lot, but I got sick once or twice a year, every clockwork. There's flu season. There's seasons and times a year where you're going to get sick because the weather's changing and this and that. That's what everybody says. That's all bullshit. It's bullshit. You don't need to live like that. I can't tell you the last time I was sick. It's been years. And even it's funny because people I work with, they're when they're kind of first starting, I think I might be getting sick, but I don't feel sick. But I think I got something, right? It's because it's such a different feeling.
Okay, so you said that everything clicked quickly for you, and you understood I can apply the same stuff to business. And what's just to share a little bit with, because people, they love the hustle, they know they need it, and all of that. How do you feel different now that you approach it from a different angle, business and working?
So one of the things that Keith always talked about, he's from up north, so he's used to walking fast, right? And so he had to slow down his walk, and he wanted to be that guy that walked slow and didn't have a care in the world, right? And so for me, I've always walked slow. So this is now you're getting to a place where good is the enemy of great, right? And there's nobody in the world that walks slower than my dad. My dad is just, his nickname was Turtle because he moves like a damn turtle, right? So I just kind of adopted that from him. I've always been kind of a just laid back kind of personality, right? But now I walk even slower because and I've always said I don't care about what other people think, right? But I've still always cared about what other people think. In the back of my mind, I've cared, right? And I always wanted to be I don't care. I don't care what other people think. But then when other people would say things or I would hear things, it would affect me. It would affect me. It would affect the way that I show up. And it's like lottery tickets. I told Keith this story. I always say, lottery tickets are a tax on the poor or a tax on the mathematically stupid, right? Because, what are the odds? But still, even saying that, I used to say that. I still say that, but I used to say that and go out and buy a lottery ticket when the pot got high enough. Right? So I was saying one thing and doing another. Just like I was saying, I don't give a fuck about what you think. But I was still giving a fuck. But after working with Keith and after learning how to apply this less is more approach to all aspects of my life, I now can confidently tell you, I have no desire to buy a lottery ticket. Even last week, the lottery here in the US, the Powerball was over $600 million, right? And one of the biggest pots ever, but no desire to buy a lottery ticket, right? I'm in control. So It's the same thing when it comes to caring about what other people think. For the first time in my life, I've gotten to a place over the last 8 months where I legitimately do not give a fuck about what any other human being thinks. What they think doesn't matter. What I think they think is what matters. So I'm in control. You can call me stupid. You can call me crazy, right? But then I want to be crazy. If it's normal to be overweight, if it's normal to be unhealthy, if it's normal to be, 88% of people in the US are metabolically unfit. They either are too heavy or they're relied on medicine or something, right? So I don't want to, that's normal. I don't want to be normal. Call me crazy. And it was kind of the most eye-opening part for me was it's the reason why it's so hard for people to get from a place of being obese to getting in shape. And the reason is because the gap is so large. The idea that I can jump from here to, across the river, across the ocean, from America to Norway is unreasonable, right? It's not a thought that I can process and say, okay, I can make that. Let me try to make that jump. I'm going to go out today and start exercising. I'm going to start eating right so I can. No, if you just focus on being just a hair better tomorrow than you were today, then eventually you can end up all the way across the world. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's, I don't even remember what your original question was.
Doesn't matter, but it was a nice path and a nice reminder for people. It's really about the next step and not about where do I want to be in 10 years or whatever. Like always the next day or just the next hour or the next minute. It's always like, I want the big success. I want the big money. I want the big wage reduction or whatever. And it's always like the seconds create a minute and the minute creates the hour and so on. So if you focus on 1 second at a time and keep going, you will end up with a big pot. And if you focus on the big pot and you get, oh my goodness, like this feeling I can't do it, then yeah, you will never get there. And you mentioned another thought, like you mentioned this the millions in the jackpot or in the lottery thing. And yeah, what I also very often talk about is you can even win the lottery, but you won't keep the millions because you're not there mentally, like the mindset of money, wealth consciousness. So do you have anything to say around that? Because obviously you have built another business, you have your current business, you have done lots of studies, you have lots of knowledge in general. So what is your take on money, on wealth consciousness?
Yeah.
And how to build it or how to
what you just said is exactly the same for food as well. Because if you go on a diet and you lose all this weight, you're just going to gain it back if you don't get the internal stuff fixed. So, but I digress. So your question is about about money and how
building wealth. What is the inner game around that, or what are beneficial thoughts around from your perspective around building wealth, building a successful business without hustle, without stress?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to caring about what other people think, because it also comes down to, so when we care about what other people think, we're constantly keeping score. We're constantly judging or allowing ourselves to be judged and thinking about, am I performing well enough? Am I meeting standards, right? And artificial standards created by somebody else. And so when we approach it that way, well, it's going to be, why we're setting a bunch of artificial deadlines on ourselves for when we have to reach certain places. Like I always did it for so long. I'd be like, man, I just turned 40 years old and I don't have this, I don't have that. I'm in the comparison game. I'm looking at what other people may have and what I don't have. And so now I'm only, who cares about that? Like I cared because other people cared, because other people would make comments and say things, and it was clear. It was made clear to me. Once I was able to detach from what other people thought, then the game changed. Then it's just like, okay, now I can lose the weight. Now I can, not because the money is a symptom. It's a symptom of my mindset and the way that I thought. And that's when everything changed. When everything changed was when it clicked and it hit me that you've been saying for so long that you didn't care, but you really did care. And when you finally got to a place where anybody could knock on my door right now and break any news to me they wanted, it would have zero impact on the rest of my day. Not because I'm a robot. Do I care about people? Yes. Do I want everybody to do well? Yes. But I believe in what the universe is doing, right? And so it's funny because on the oil and gas side, I tell my coworkers, I'm like, the universe is my friend, right? And And, just because something happens today that wasn't ideal, it only matters if I'm keeping score today. It only matters if the goal was to reach this goal by this date. So as long as I'm allowing the universe to determine when that specific success strikes, then that success will strike. But if I'm judging it like other people are judging me, then it'll never come. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
okay. So how I understand it is basically this detachment from other people, but also from timelines of other people. But obviously, with that timelines we make ourselves, it needs to happen this day or that day, and like utter detachment. And then you follow your bliss even more, and you're feeling good and doing all of that stuff that feels aligned, and then it just happens. This is how I would translate that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all about. So when you panic and you freak out about certain things that may happen, you close the door on all of the other possibilities that could have come after that action. So you now, in a way, you're interfering. You're interfering with the potential and the plan, the way the universe is working for you. You're essentially sabotaging it. Now we're talking about self-sabotage, right? Whereas if you would just approach it as, okay, well, what lesson can I gain from this? And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a death. It could be a car crash. It could be anything, right? It's okay. All right, that was interesting. What I find myself now, Lydia, actually laughing most of the time because it's comical when certain things happen. It's like, wow, that guy cut me off. That's hilarious. Like, I guess I'm supposed to slow down. What does that tell me, right? Whereas if he cuts me off and then I'm honking the horn and I got road rage and I'm getting, so now I've completely closed myself off to what lessons I could have learned and what else I could have gained. So now I'm not in a receptive mode, so to speak, for the rest of the day or for the next hour or half hour, however much time that is.
And we are focused. Like all this energy is not taken for creating new stuff. It's just taken by being in rage and being in like, oh, the other person did this to me or whatever. So it's like very focused energy on something that we don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So focus on the ultimate goal and not judge about when that ultimate goal comes. That's the most free feeling in the world once you get to that place. And it's not hard, it's not rocket science, but it is easier said than done.
There we go to the implementation part again with health and everything.
Because we judge everything by the way that we physically see things, right? We don't necessarily judge everything by the way that we sense and the way that we feel. We're judging based on the way everybody else judges, which is the way that the physical evidence that's in front of us. There is a car crash. Look at my car. Look at that dent. Look at this. How much money is it going to... Those things. Negative, 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 negative. Right? So, of course, your life's going to be negative. And of course, that day is going to be negative. Of course, it's going to be a bad day. Whereas, if you flip it and think about, this is really interesting. Like, what is the lesson that I'm trying to learn here? Like, maybe I wasn't supposed to go to that lunch. Or I wasn't supposed to go to that event or that date or wherever it was for some reason. Like, interesting, right? Maybe something horrible would have happened there. Even worse. You think that's bad. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all, we have the power to frame any event that happens in our lives in a way that is serving us, in a way that's beneficial to us. And we have the power also to frame it in a way that is not serving us. Just like food. We have the power to eat foods that serve us, and we have the power to eat foods that don't do us any good. It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. That's almost like a perfect sentence to finish our little interview. But of course, I want to give you again the opportunity to just share a little bit, like anything else you want to share, like anything else that comes to you where you say this needs to get out into the world, like your not famous last words. Do you say that when people die? I actually don't want to say that. Like your main words you want to finish this interview with.
So I used to always think that when I would see people posting things and see things online or commercials on TV or hear other people, talk about, you're amazing, you're great, right? And I'm speaking in general, like, and I'm like, I used to always think, like, that makes no sense. Everybody's not great. And that message is going out to everybody, to anybody who watches it. I can show that message to any human being on the planet. They can see it says, you're great. I'm supposed to get motivated by that? That's supposed to inspire me? That doesn't inspire me. All it does is piss me off, right? That's how I used to think. And now I've gotten to a place where, can't believe, I'm admitting it, but I actually agree with it, because what it means is each person is great at something. My dad used to always tell me, everybody's dumb at something, right? And surely, we talk about my education, right? But the higher up you get in the education tree, the more you specialize on a specific area, right? And so the dumber you get at everything else is the thought, right? But the point is, though, that the biggest detriment to people not being able to achieve this life and this level of success, whether you're talking about living in your dream body or living in your dream house or your dream car or dream bank account, it doesn't matter, is the belief that they deserve it and the feeling that they deserve it. And when I realized, because you go through struggles in life and whatnot, and when I realized, wait a minute, I am actually a good person. I am actually good at all these things. I am actually a benefit to society. I actually have this gift to give to other people, right? Then everybody's got that. They just got to be able to tap into it to identify, and they're not going to be, their passion is not going to be my passion. There's enough out there for everybody to take from. And I always had this mindset of, there's a pie and I got to get as much of that pie as possible because there's only a limited amount. And that mindset, when that changed for me, everything changed, because then I realized, not only do I have a gift, do I have a superpower, what makes me different is my superpower, right? And I posted something on TikTok a while ago, and it was an affirmation that really is powerful, and I kind of created it, and it's what makes me different is my superpower. And there's a second part to that, and the second part is, and the world is fucked without me, right? And everybody can use that. Everybody can have their own way of shaping the world. There's enough people in this world. There's enough there's unlimited impact that can be done in this world. So I think that I've lived my whole life with a very limited mindset, and once that changed, everything changed. So it all starts in your mind. Right here.
Oh, thank you. It was lovely talking to you, Patrick. And obviously, I'm going to put your links into the show notes. So everyone who wants to increase levels of energy and happiness and health in their lives, I'm going to send them your ways. And yeah, even I learned something new today. So that was great. Thank you for talking with me today, Patrick. Did you like this podcast episode? Then please share it with people who you know could benefit from it. Also, I would be super grateful if you could leave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It would mean such a lot to me. If you want to stay connected with me, please join my Telegram channel for daily mini reminders around mindset, business growth, investing, and living life to the fullest. Or message me directly on Instagram or LinkedIn. You will find all the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and until the next episode. Much love, Lydia.